everyone, WYN back again for another tutorial on exploiting in Roblox. I know it's been a while since I've dropped a video, so thank you for being patient. I've been working on a number of projects that's kept me a little occupied, one of which I'll link in the description, a premium whitelisting service to protect your scripts. But that's not what today's video is about. Today, we will finally be getting through the subject of the garbage collector and how you can use it to exploit games. So, with that, we'll jump right in. So, before we go into straight into code and showing you how to use a garbage collector, I think it makes the most sense to explain exactly what the garbage collector is and how you'll be able, once again, to leverage it for exploiting. So, any programming languages has what's known as a garbage collector. Um, Essentially, when a variable or a any type of real value or function within a program goes out of scope, so it's no longer in scope to be used by the process. Instead of that just taking up memory on the heap or the stack as a reference to that value. I know this is complicated, but bear with me. Instead, a process called a garbage collector goes through and finds all of these values and functions and variables are out of scope, and it collects them and it puts them in this container area waiting for disposal. And so eventually everything in the garbage collector one by one starts to get removed from memory. And this is all set up to help developers not to have to worry too much about memory management, since a garbage collector will handle vast majority of it for you, so you don't have to sit there and dispose of every variable and function manually when it comes out of scope. Doesn't prevent things like memory leaks necessarily, because if you use things like up values or globals, there's still a lot of potential for leaks. This just helps all the more common functions and values that you normally would need to dispose of. Okay, so all that being said, a lot of languages have it. It's pretty common. And so, how can we leverage that? Well, we have this really nifty tool function called getGC within our exploiting environment. That allows us to go and get the garbage collector, everything that's in it, as a big table. Then we can loop through that table for things as or to search for things such as functions or other tables or values, and then just grab those and use them as if you were calling them directly from a script. So, how is this helpful? Well, sometimes there might be a function that exists and you just can't find it, you can't locate it, or you can't require it from a module script, or you can't use it from a local script. If you were to search for the garbage collector and find the function in there, then it's quite simple to grab. Grab it from the garbage collector, you get the up values from it, you can get constants from it if it's a function, and then you can also call it. So let's just jump right into some code now that we've got that out of the way. So I'm in a very just basic game I put together just for this demonstration. It's going to be very simple. I'm first going to show you how to uh, run through the garbage collector and grab everything out of it. And then I'm going to go through how to target specific functions. Um, so I already got some code written here, but I'll just rewrite it. So first of all, remember, get GC returns a table. And so we want to loop through that table to identify the things that we want to grab. So I'm going to first start this off by just saying for I, V, and pairs. Really don't need the index here, but just because you're probably familiar with it, we'll leave it as that. For IV and pairs and get GC. So once again, get GC is a function that's going to return a table. So we want to that want to do something. I'm going to put my little ending spot down here so we can keep our indentions nice and neat. All right, so now remember, there's a lot of things in this garbage collector. It could be tables, it could be functions, it could be values. So first of all, I want to check the type of the value that we're looping through to make sure it's something we want. for this case, we're going to be targeting function. So let's put function target so we can grab all the functions. So I'm just going to do an if statement. If type of v is equal to, then use function as a string. So type, when you use type on a value, so on an object, it'll return a string of that type. And so if we did type and it was a table, it would return the string value of a table. If it's this value is actually a function, it'll return the string type of function. So we only want to target function, so we'll do. Next thing we want to do is we want to make sure it's not an exploit environment function. Now you could skip this part, but we'd rather not return all the exploit environment functions or try to mess with them at all. So most exploits have a really nifty function check for that, and for Synapse, which we'll be using for this demonstration, is Synapse function. So if type equals function, then we want to make sure it's not a Synapse function. So and not is not underscore or is underscore Synapse function, and then we're going to pass the value to it again, the v that we're looping through. Then we want to do something. We're going to put in our end here. So once again, to recap, we're going to loop through everything in the garbage collector. If it's a function and it's not an exploit function, then let's do something. And in fact, let's simply just print out all the function names from here. So there's a lot of things we can do, but let's go ahead and get a full list of functions, because I find that once you have that full list, you can search through them and you might be able to easily find the function that you're really wanting to use. Probably more so than just trying to grab it from a module script or local script. And sometimes these functions are already parented to nil by time you run the game and you don't even see them in a script, but you can still grab them from the garbage collector. Okay, so we're going to be using Synapse as our console warn. Print this out to print out all the functions in a way that's going to make it really easy for us to copy them into Pad or somewhere that we can review them, search them, find the one we're looking for. So it's quite simply our console print, and it's a function, so you put parentheses, and what we want to print is the name of the function. So once again, v, we've already declared that it's a function, it's not a Synapse function. We want to get the name. And so to do that, you can use another function called getInfo, and it takes one parameter, which in this case is v for the function, takes a parameter of an object. And when it gets the info, it returns a table of information about, in this case, about this function. So one of the uh, members of the table is name. So get info dot name. So if the function name exists, it's going to return it and it's going to print it to the console. Now, one other thing I want to do though before we actually use this is I want to check to make sure that the name exists, because if we try to index get info with .name and the name is nil or doesn't exist, then it's going to give us an error. So up here where we have our check for if v is a function and it's not a Synapse function, I'm also going to add another conditional check here. I'm going to put and pasting in what we copied below, get info v.name. So if this doesn't exist, it will this will operate as nil, or would show as nil. So in other words, it would also be, at least logically, would be looked at as false. So essentially, if this is false, then this is not going to. So long story short, we want to make sure the name exists so we can print it out. All right, so I think we are good here. In fact, actually, let's use, instead of our console print, let's use our console warn, because then I don't have to worry about any type of spacing for the lines. It's going to put everything. All right, I'm going to just take this section of code, copy it. I'm going to open up Roblox, paste it into my executor window, and hit execute. And there we go. So you see the command window has popped up, lots of different functions here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all by hitting Control A, then Control C to copy. I'm going to open up, in my case, Notepad++, use whatever you like. Kind of paste in all those data, just Control V to paste. And you'll see there's a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of blanks. We could have done a few other checks to ensure that one, we're not getting duplicate functions, and two, we don't have blanks. But you scroll through these, get an idea of all the functions that are currently in the collector. If you already know what function you're looking for, then you can just do Control F to search for it, or you can just browse through it. Now, I know the one that I want is, I think it's change text. Yeah. So I just searched for change. Here it is. And I want to do something with this function. So I'm going to go ahead and copy it and go back to Visual Studio Code. And we'll leave this code right here. We'll just take a copy of it. Do that. It's a function there, so don't lose it. Copy this, bring it down here. And now what we want to do is we want to find this function, capture it, so then we can do things like call it when we want to, or get the up values, or get the constants. So I'm going to run through all that very quickly. So quite simply, all you really need to do is add another check to see if getinfov.name is to this function name, and if so, then we grab it. So I'm going to set up two local variables to help us with this, and these just really help this become more modular, so you can use this for any function name you like. So we'll do local func name, funky name. You can equals, and I'm just going to go ahead and put in change text. So that's the function name we'll be searching for. And then I want to have a holder variable for the function itself. So I'm just going to put local func. And the reason for this is, once again, variable scoping. If I were to declare local function in here in my loop, save it, I won't be able to access it outside the loop because it's no longer scope. All right, so I'm going to declare it outside. And then now, instead of doing our console horn, I'm just going to do another little simple if statement. So if get info v dot name is equal to func name, so once again that will change text, then we want to do something. In block here to keep it. So we found it, so I'm just going to print found name. All right, so print, passing in two arguments, one a string saying found, and then another string, which is actually the variable function name. Now I'm going to go ahead and set func equals v. So our variable that we are holding for the function is v. Then if I go below here, now if function exists, if we have it, we should be able to call it. So I'm going to just do another condition statement, because I don't want to call it if it doesn't exist, if it never found, because it will throw an error. So if func, then end, just call it func. Call the function. All right. Sure everything looks good. It does. Copy this new section of text. Copy. Box. And what it should do, show you, when you interact with this button, again, it just toggles between click me and true. Now, this function is the function that is used in the game to actually make that to toggle that button. So I have in my editor window, when I execute, if it finds it, we should see a print statement in output here for found and name, change text. And then we should also see it change once it gets called, which happens right after it. Let's see. There we go. Found change text, and it changed from click me to true. And we just do it a few times, and you can see on the screen how it's changing. So we've successfully grabbed the function from the garbage collector and are using it to call the function directly. All right, let's go back to the code and show you a couple other cool things you can do with this. So now that we have this function down here, we're calling it, but let's say we don't want to call it. Maybe we want to get the up values and see what is in there in up values, or even the constants. So let's do up values first. You remember from my earlier tutorial on how to get up values, you can do that, but just as a quick reminder, Up values returns a table, loop through that table. So we're going to say for IV in pairs, uh, get up values. Now, up values takes one argument. That's a function. So the function we want to pass to it is func, F-U-N-C, the one we just set. Do, and we're going to put a statement here. So once again, we're up values, get up values returns a table, takes one function or one parameter, which is the function itself, and we are looping through the table. So we'll just go ahead and print the index and the value. Now here we actually do want this index and the value because if there's an up value that we want to set it by the index. So you'll need to know what the index is so you can set it. All right, so let's take this code, copy it, go back to Roblox. I'm going to clear the output window, clear my computer window here, paste it in, and hit execute. All right, so we have two up values. One is index one is the word click me. Index two is a table. So we could loop through this table, see if there's anything interesting in there that we'd want to modify. In this case, I know there's not because it's function. Uh, but the click me, we could modify that if we wanted that to be a different value. However, I also know it's not going thing because it's set. It changes every time the button's actually clicked. So if we go here, I'll just go ahead and show you how to set that. Once again, that was index one. So let's go to a new line. But set up value. So set up value takes three parameters. One is the function, so func, it's the first parameter. That's the function we set. Next one is the index of the up value you want to change. In this case, one, first index. And then lastly, what do you want to change it to? So if you remember, it said click me. Let's maybe change it to uh, don't click me. Right, and then going to copy all this again. Roblox, paste it in. Now, when I run this, it's not going to, you're not going to see a change, right, from don't click me. In fact, when it runs the first time, since we're doing the loop of up values, it's showing you what it currently is. But if I were to just set it, let me go ahead and comment it out. If I were to run it again, now we'll see the value has changed. Click me, don't click me. So it's already been changed within the function itself. So the up value is pretty simple to set. Just doesn't really do anything because it'll go from true back to click me just because it's reset on each click. Now let's go back to Visual Studio Code and I want to show you constants. So get constants. So first of all, let's just get them and print them. So get constants is just like get up values in terms of parameters. It takes one parameter and that's the function. Past that, it returns a table, and we're going to loop through the table to get the constants. And sometimes there is more you can exploit on the constant side. Sometimes there's more on the up value side. Just depends on the name of the function. All right, I'm going to clear the output window here. Hit execute, and I see a bunch of them. So we have true, click me, to string, user data, is true, script, click button, uh, parent, and text. So I can back this in and understand kind of what's happening here. That it's looking at most likely the script parent, and if on button click, it's changing the name of this button. So let's let's try to modify a couple things. First, uh let's change click me here as a constant. So it's index two and it's click me. So I'm going to go back to Visual Studio Code. Instead of set up value, it's going to type set constant. It's the exact same format as set up value. You do the function, index number, which now is 2 that we're targeting, the new value. So we want to replace click me with don't click. All right, I'm going to copy all of this, go back to Flux, click, paste it in, hit execute. All right, going to make sure it worked by commenting out set constant. Run it again, see if 2 changes. Index 2 has changed, so don't click me. So let's see what happens now. True, Now it says don't click me. So see how easy that was to modify the constant from this function? And we could also do it with true if we like. You'd most likely want to pass it as a bool value. Another thing you could do, by the way, when you're printing these out, you can also print the type. You want to know type of the value. So under this print statement where I'm looping through the constants, I'll put a comma and add another value where I'll put the function type and v. And if I were to this one last time, go back to Roblox, clear out the window, paste it in, and tell me everything in here value. So we have a string value, string, user data, data string, string. And you're going to find that most of the time these constants are going to be shown as strings. Well, okay, so what we went through so far is or one, what is a garbage collector and how is it useful? And then practically, how can you loop through the garbage collector to grab a function out that you're able then to do what you like? In our example, we called the function directly. You saw how it would change the button instead of actually having to click. And then also we use the same function to get its up values, set up values, get the constants, and set the constants. So it's very helpful. You can do something very similar. You can search the garbage collector for tables, change the type from function to table. There's a specific table you might be looking for. You can do that as well. You can change it to pretty much any type you like because just about everything will eventually make its way into the garbage collector. One last word of advice. If you know a function exists and you do not see it looping through the garbage collector, you need to make sure it has run once so that it gets picked up into the garbage collector. So if you can't find it, make sure you somehow get the function to run by interacting with the wallet. All right, and I think that is it for this video. Apologies again for taking so long to get this one out. I've been, as I mentioned, pretty busy on another project. My next video, I'll probably spend a bit time going through how to secure your scripts with whitelist systems and obfuscation. It's mostly what I've been working on. I'll put a link to my new project down in the description. I really appreciate all of you that watch these videos and all of those that have subscribed. Just continue to like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. Feel free to chat with me on Discord if you have any questions or if there's anything that maybe I can help. Thanks again, everyone. Take care.